welcome back to Nosetools, where oh yes, we just got some immigrants, haven't we? I have plans for how to make our magma transport more efficient, but those may have to wait while we work out what to do with our immigrants. I mean, currently we have, I think, one immigrant. They appear as... I wonder if they appear as other or... Anyway, we might possibly want to worry about the quantity of rhinoceros corpses around as well.
Just waiting to come back to life and fight you.
No. They're corpses as in undead. They've already come back to life. They're outside the fort, but on the other hand, so are the shiny new immigrants.
And you'd quite like them to come in.
And I'd quite like the immigrants indoors and the rhinoceroses not.
We're live on stream, I assume?
Yes.
Everyone else is missing quality wittering.
So yes, I'm just wondering, trying to remember, because we've got one of our immigrants here. So where do they appear on these lists? Am I just terribly confused? Obviously, they're not livestock. That's just guests. I don't seem to be here either. So, well, let's have a look around and see who we've got. All right, so they're appearing as pick up equipment. So who knows what equipment they're trying to pick up. There is also a bunch of poets and such like out there on the surface. So we probably, at the very least, want to get them in here. So that door is presumably locked. Yes. And there's already an active meeting area there, so they should, at the very least, any immigrants should come in here, and then we'll see if they seem to be alive still. We'll then let them into the fort proper, which we can do by flapping the door, because we did pave over that, yes. So I don't think that's a problem. Right, I'm going to temporarily ignore the immigrants then. And I'm going to try to organise our minecart, magma and minecart manoeuvres a little more cleverly.
Hello.
Okay, that's the logic of magma. True.
So are many people. So, what state are we currently in? So what my plan for the magma is that's full of magma, right? So is to have a chain of linked stockpiles that things will be moved between. That minecarts will be moved between. So what I'm trying to do at the moment is to fill the to get a working magma smelter down in the lead mines. So for that, obviously, I need a small, and I already have, a small minecart stockpile down here, which is set to take only minecarts made of iron or steel, or wood, plant. Yeah, let's just block that as well. Forbid all other materials. Yes, that's better. it should allow precisely one wheelbarrow, and what we want to change is to say it should, once it has a wheelbarrow assigned, we should arrange that it will take from the minecart, from the stockpile that we use for filling up minecarts. So there's a tiny stockpile here, stockpile number 33, which currently is set to take nothing at all. I want to put that back to taking minecarts and only minecarts. Right. So now that minecart is in its proper location. It's in a correct. It's back being in. It doesn't have a job. Good. Is back being in a furniture stockpile, and then the idea is that if we link the stockpile here so that it's only allowed to take from there, indeed we should set it to only take from links, and then we will add that downstairs minecart as that downstairs stockpile as a link once it's ready, and that will cause that minecart to be transferred up here. Whew. So then the question is, what's going on with the wheelbarrows? Wheelbarrow, singular. Where is it? What's it assigned to? So that's still currently assigned to that stockpile, even though I think that stockpile is set to 0 wheelbarrows. No, it's not. Set that stockpile to 0 wheelbarrows, and that should then unassign that wheelbarrow. And that, all being well, will then cause that wheelbarrow to be attached to the other stockpile. Let's just check that that is the only wheelbarrow available, and forbid the other one if necessary. We're getting there. This will work. So hang on, 34 is, I think, the one I've just made, isn't it? No, 36. Okay, that's fine then. Right, we're getting there. So tools, wheelbarrows. The steel one is currently assigned to 32, but I think it will deassign as soon as we unpause. None of those is assigned to 36, so 36 is still waiting for a wheelbarrow. Excellent. So I think that will be fine. Right. So I think now I want to well, actually no, let's set up the other thing that I want to set up, which is an additional minecart stockpile down here. So the idea is that we have a perfectly ordinary minecart stockpile here that takes from anywhere, so that any loose steel minecarts will get transported down here, and because though any loose minecart should be empty, this stockpile can use wooden wheelbarrows, which is part of the point of this entire shenanigan. So we want to make this a furniture stockpile, which will be this size, and which will, as with most of these, allow minecarts in iron and steel. Will take from anywhere, is not linked to another thing, allows up to 1 wheelbarrow. Actually, no, let's leave that at 0 wheelbarrows for now, because I want to make sure that steel wheelbarrow ends up assigned to the right thing. Right. Right, let's unpause and check that the wheelbarrows get reassigned, and also watch our immigrants up on the surface. Right, well, that immigrant there. All right, I think our new arrival ended up not quite being a new arrival after being saved. Well, they haven't died yet. Right, let's see what's going on with the wheelbarrows. Diziot asks, if I get my barrow cart programming wrong, do I have a hideous magma accident? Most likely is that the wheelbarrow disintegrates en route because it has been overheated, which should just leave a perfectly happy magma-filled minecart sitting around, which will admittedly then disintegrate any other wheelbarrows it comes into contact with. So you may end up running out of wooden wheelbarrows. So the steel wheelbarrow is now assigned to stockpile number 36, which is what we wanted. So now let's head down here and allow this stockpile to have a wheelbarrow as well, and unforbid the wooden wheelbarrows. We have a forbidden wheelbarrow around here somewhere. Yes, that one. If we unforbid that one, then that one can get assigned to the new stockpile in the depths. This will cause some poor dwarf to lug the wheelbarrow all the way down there, because you aren't allowed to move empty wheelbarrows by pushing them, or at least not initially. So I'll investigate that in a moment. Having undone that, then now stockpile number 37 has a wheelbarrow assigned. Excellent. Right. And since that stockpile should only collect empty minecarts, there shouldn't be any problem of overheating that wheelbarrow. Right. So there's a new arrival. There's the thresher, who is allegedly going to pick up equipment, but he is heading for the main entrance. Where is that named boar corpse? Should be being highlighted. If I move the cursor over here, I get a flashing green plus over the person that I'm looking at, who's described in the right-hand column. Somewhere around here is a boar corpse that is similarly, that should now be being highlighted, but I can't actually see it. Ngum Tob. Let's look them up. It's a nice distinctive name. Alright, they're all the way over there. I think they were off the screen. So they're slightly worried. The Ngum Tob is a little worrying because it's quite close to the main entrance, but it is moving away. Looks like people are just being distracted by the fact that the pit is still full of unfriendly creatures. dear. Have you just been frightened? You've turned back into a new arrival. That's amusing. Okay, I think the undead pig and the new arrival are running away from one another. And a cat is turning up instead. Well, I suppose that's better than nothing. One of the other new arrivals are a little less terrified though, and they are coming indoors. One dwarf, two dwarves, three dwarves.
What are the surprise Otamlòr with the baby? Does that help? Apparently. Magic futurist space with the baby.
Right, that looks like that's all of the new arrivals. No, that mace dwarf is an at rather than a face, so I think they are not a new arrival. So I think now, once that lot are all in, I pull the lever downstairs to close the outer door. I should look at the bedroom situation at some point. Right, and then watch what's going on up here. Well, that cat has run out again. That's foolish of it. Oh, there's another arrival. That worries me. Only worries me a little, Frank. Oh, that's the one who was who ran away before. Right? Yes, that's not too surprising. All being well, they won't get hurled in the air by the bridge moving under them. No, good. Right, bridge now would be nice. Now would be a really excellent time for you to activate. Like before the zombie rhinoceroses notice that you're down. Don't, stupid cat. What? No, don't stand there. That's a very dangerous place to stand. Oh, look. One of the visiting artists has discovered the dead pigs. No, what? Where are you going? Stop it. Well, if you're going to be there, then you'll have to come in the second batch. Right, so that should now allow those dwarves to enter the fortress proper. Yeah, that dwarf's in an even more dangerous position now. They're standing where the drawbridge will open onto them. And drawbridges are at least as fatal in Dwarf Fortress as they are in NetHack. Maybe the black and yellow hazard tape would work, yes. Another possibility that I've seen suggested is to you can exclude dwarves from things by conveniently not caged, but isolated but visible monsters near the places you really don't want them to be. Right, anyway, so that poor dwarf is going to be standing out there for a while we do a bit of reorganising of everything. Meanwhile, what's going on with the minecarts then? So that one is still there. But someone is carrying a wheelbarrow. Yes, because they're taking the wheelbarrow down to the lead mines in order to then be able to start pushing the wheelbarrow further down. I'm just assuming that anyone who wants to join us as a citizen can. Yes. Yeah. Yes, I think Claire, the rule is that that dwarves, when a wheelbarrow is assigned to a new stockpile, it has to be carried to the new stockpile. But I think it's then acceptable to push it once it's been delivered. Well, it's currently being delivered, so we'll see in a moment. And the problem is that a steel wheelbarrow is quite heavy. It looks like someone has already brought that. Which minecart's that then? Right, so that's the empty minecart that's already been delivered here. So that's not a very helpful minecart, but we can demonstrate how it's meant to work. If we now set up a new hauling route, which we will call new route, which we will name, that won't be here for very long, Magma to Smelter. Actually, to lead mine. Which should have one stop, which will be there, which will be a perfectly ordinary stop. And then we assign the iron minecart to that route. Hang on, I think I put that stop in the wrong place. Strictly that doesn't matter though. The point is, yes, I think I did put that stop in the wrong place. I should fix that. So that minecart is now no longer in a minecart stockpile, which should mean that as a loose minecart it gets transported down into the depths. Meanwhile, there is now a minecart stockpile here that has no minecarts in it, so it should, and this is slightly dodgy for other reasons, which I want to check in a moment, be the case that someone will now go and fetch a different minecart to put here. But what I should do now actually is go. That stop's in the wrong place. Remove stop. Put the stop there instead. Not that. Oh, and possibly thus unassign the vehicle. Okay, the vehicle appears to be unassigned anyway. Good. So many people want to join us. So, was that someone? Yes. No. What? I think it was someone moving something entirely other with a wheelbarrow. Yeah. So here's someone doing something with stockpile 37. So I think this miner should go all the way down to the bottom. I'm doing a lot of watching what's going on here so I can check that it's actually behaving properly. They should collect the wheelbarrow, the wooden wheelbarrow that's been put in here, and push that wooden wheelbarrow up to the lead mines and collect the empty minecart. Yes, Dizzy, it is very much like tailing a log file and going, is this all working properly? There goes someone with a wheelbarrow in the opposite direction. My hope is that A, that was a steel wheelbarrow, and B, they're going to pick it up,
Steel barrow.
pick up the correct minecart with it, and collected a minecart and taking it back downstairs again. And then the magic thing is they should remove the minecart from the wheelbarrow, and then carry the wheelbarrow into the loading area, and not leave the wooden wheelbarrow in the loading area to get incinerated. Which is why I have the 2 stockpiles down there, so that the wheelbarrow stays out of the loading area.
I'm starting to think you've actually built the obvious video game factory scene in Attack of the Clones, where there's some enormous spout above the entire factory that's exuding molten metal at periodic intervals and hoping something sensible is going to have been left below it, which is in imminent danger of not happening.
Except, of course, that hasn't been picked up yet. Right, so what's going on now? Okay, there was a suggestion that there is a bug as regards stockpiles with wheelbarrows, that while you can store the wheelbarrow and an object in the same square, if the number of wheelbarrows is precisely the same as the number of squares in the of tiles in the stockpile, then the dwarves will get slightly confused. Dizzyat, I don't think stockpile programming is Turing complete, but plenty of other things in Dwarf Fortress are. Minecarts certainly are. Dwarves definitely are as well, and there are at least 3 or 4 known usable logic families in Dwarf Fortress.
This is mildly terrifying.
How many illogic
I
families?
was going to say, if there's several of them, then presumably...
Then you have to build level translators between them, yes.
Well, or you can get one lot of Turing complete things to gang up against the other lot of Turing complete things. And then bad things happen on Friday the 13th.
So, what I want... Actually, let's test a different thing then.
Yes, if anyone wants to cast a vote for the shiny toy stick.
Thing. Or should we... So there's another thing that I think might work. What do I do this? I do K. So at least some bits of the wiki have suggested that if I forbid this minecart, then someone will stick the other minecart in alongside it. So let's see if that happens. Thank you. Well, that's probably a good plan. Let's look at the bedroom situation. Right, we still have a reasonable number of unowned bedrooms because, people keep dying. So now... What? No place item. Add item to stockpile jobs. That's just weird. Because this should be set to take from links only and to take from there. I think I forgot that link for the other one as well, didn't I? So similarly, this stockpile is set to take from links only, but isn't actually set to have any links. So take from there. Right. So that will work a bit better. Actually, let's give these stockpiles, or at least the lower stockpiles, some more sensible names. So now rather than saying give to furniture stockpile number 30 something, it actually says, or take from furniture stockpile 30 something, it says take from Magma Safe Minecart store, and then this one is labelled take from Magma Loading, and so that makes things a little clearer. Right, so now do we have any jobs turning up? Not yet, no. Let's give time a chance to pass and see if they're still just fighting a poet. So what happened to the dwarf that was out here? Like the new arrival. While I was busy being distracted by minecarts. Don't seem to have any. They were a presser, weren't they? I've forgotten their name. Thresher, sorry. Okay, I thought they got stuck outside. Right, okay, I'm going to assume we got everyone in then. How are we doing at reloading the traps? Cage traps have all been reloaded. We have actually run out of space to store cages, though.
What do you call the cow with no legs? Oh, sorry. I'm back to my helmet now.
Thank you. I think I should set up, given that they mostly need it out here, a small stockpile for empty cages. So that should get some things moved to the empty cage stockpile. So we don't seem to have anyone moving minecarts around at the moment, which suggests that I've got some of this programming wrong. So let's do, I think one of the bugs that I've seen documented is that, oh, of course that can't take at the moment because the other one's forbidden. Let's unforbid that and see if it helps now that we've got the links set up correctly. So that means that our spare cages don't end up clogging up the dump.
Some book of oh yes, independent colours. It's reduced to 250 now. But what? Let's see some marketing involved for the centre. Camel skull.
That means the camel had two humps, not the skull has two humps.
Phrenologist to wild beast, that.
Okay, so that's still not causing things to get moved around. I think I'm going to believe that the problem is that this furniture stockpile needs to be bigger, so I will undesignate it. So now let's make this a bit bigger. Let's make it a 2 square furniture stockpile configured for, as before, just minecarts and see if that works. We'll get this sorted eventually.
I think the idea is to get magma from the source of magma means of configuring a sequence of stockpiles to accept things only moved from the other stockpile in such a way that the only thing the dwarves can do with them that's allowed is to move the magma in the right direction.
Okay.
And is stockpile why they count to the lake? So you put that.
I don't know about counting it.
I'm not thinking about that.
It's probably just one thing.
Mhm.
I just missed that move as move.
Right. Well, we've got someone trying to move something into the stockpile 39, which is the new stockpile at the smelter. I'm just a little worried that they're probably moving the wrong object.
How about the one that's on it?
Yes. Indeed, they now seem to have got distracted and are training a stray Draltha instead. Okay. What? So that's correctly assigned to that. That's stockpile 39. Stockpile 39 has some space in it. It's set up to take from the magma loading area. The magma loading area is in existence. Is a stockpile that can contain steel minecarts. Is itself set up to take from the minecart store and currently contains and minecart, which there is a task to move. Right. Yes, there we are. Right, maybe this person's going to do the right thing. We will get there. Like, we've got some of the flows correct. The idea of this, as opposed to what we had before, is that it should, once it's working, require slightly less micromanagement. It still requires quite a bit of micromanagement. But in particular, we should be able to, like, have about half of it automated. And not end up having to reconfigure stockpiles every time we want anything to happen. Because mostly we constrain things to the right stockpiles by linking the stockpiles together. Right, so that's now going to go up to the surface, and meanwhile probably someone is now loading that into the loading area. Excellent. So that bit seems to be working as well. Also, as you can see, the soap making pipeline is working again, which means that we won't run out of soap. We now have 7 bars of Elkbird soap, which should keep us going for a little while. Right, so what's in all these cages then? Which of them can we safely empty into the pit? So that one contains an undead naked mole dog. Naked mole dogs are probably safe to throw into the pit. Let's try it. Right, that looked like it didn't cause us any trouble. What other things do we have in those cages? That one has a perfectly ordinary Gorlak. That one has a perfectly ordinary large rat. That one has a perfectly ordinary large rat. So we don't want to hurl, like, living things into the pit.
Especially not.
No. So let's, at least temporarily, just construct those cages over here in our animal training area, and then work out quite what we're going to do with them. Damn it, I've lost my cursor. Oh, there it is. Confusing there being a flashing yellow staircase here. Okay, so those can be moved over there. Another question is what's going on over here. Why do we have random teeth kicking around? Let's get rid of those. I kind of think that anything that's being stored there is probably unnecessary. So we were also, just before we stopped last night, worrying a little bit about whether we had enough coffins for all the people whose bodies we'd found on the surface when we got access to the surface briefly. We seem to at least not have run out of installed ones now. So let's install some more. So we do have 2 cages. Why is there a... No point in having a bronze minecart on that route. A bronze minecart will just melt. Right. So... Another strange mood. Oh well, yes, okay, if you must. Of course, dwarves being taken by strange moods while moving magma-filled minecarts may be entertaining. Right, so we now have another minecart in the filling area, so we can go start filling that minecart with magma. Just check that it is actually empty at the moment. Yes. Why is there a task for it? Forbid that minecart. Yes. That's one slight thing we have to be careful of. Oh, a mechanics workshop. That's exciting. What do you want then? Metal, blocks, bricks, cloth, thread, leather, skin, rough colour. Hope we've got some rough gems kicking around. Tree life, presumably wood. Those don't sound difficult, except possibly for the rough gems. But like we can dig out more rough gems if we need them. Does not demand magma. You can't mood something out of magma. Probably.
Got to at least wait till it cools.
Yeah, we can make obsidian. Indeed, I have plans that involve obsidian. So, meanwhile, there is now the steel minecart up here, so I can go hauling route, that one, assign vehicle, steel minecart. And that will then stick those 2 units of magma in there, and then we can unassign the minecart again and it will get taken down stairs. So essentially here I'm mostly right, so that's that filled. I can now do most of this by only manipulating the status of the minecarts rather than having to manipulate the status of the stockpiles. And now stop pumping that, and we should now have a filled minecart which we can unforbid, and it will be hauled up to the lead mine. Meanwhile, that minecart has been emptied and there are now 2/7 of magma in that hole. 2/7 is not enough though. More depths of fluid are measured in sevenths. A tile in Dwarf Fortress is 7 units tall in fluid sense. So this means the fluid, the hole is, yes, that tile is now like knee deep in magma. But you can't run a magma smelter off merely knee deep magma. You need waist deep magma for smelting, so we need to get another minecart up here, and minecart full of magma up here. But
Does magma eventually cool down?
no, I presume that thus it is quite seriously radioactive.
Yeah.
As far as we know, dwarves are not susceptible to radiation sickness.
Well, okay, now we know how to make radioactive helicopters.
And indeed, neither are they susceptible to mercury poisoning, as far as we can tell, or lead poisoning. Obviously, Dwarf Fortress has most of the mechanisms necessary to implement mercury poisoning and lead poisoning, and possibly even radioactive magma. Like, it really should be the case that you can smelt cinnabar into a metal that, with a very low melting point, that indeed can then emit some fumes that give you a syndrome. So what's in this cage? That's an undead cat, right? The undead cat corpse in the tin cage gets to go in the pit. So past experience has said that throwing dwarf corpses into our pit as currently constructed, that's fine, I probably didn't let it out of the cage. Throwing dwarf corpses into the pit as currently constructed is oh dear, poor dwarf, is prone to causing the person doing the throwing to get I'm a little worried at that abandoned steel wheelbarrow filled with an iron minecart filled with magma. It may end up in the wrong place, because that's another reason why people might abandon minecarts en route, is that they had a Yes, they were interrupted by, in this case, training for military training.
I don't know.
But they abandoned it with its wheelbarrow, so all being well, something good will come of that. Like, if we're lucky, that will then get moved again in a moment. So yeah, we've got an awful lot of. Here's our straight dwarf with a strange mood, who is still running around collecting objects. I think he's trying to get to the tannery, though I'm not sure. Yes. Right, he successfully got some leather.
You were saying that throwing dwarf corpses into the pit caused the dwarf overflowing
To get dragged in by the corpse. And when I say corpse, I mean throwing undead dwarves into the pit.
Because you got interrupted by a different confusion before you said whether the end of the sentence.
Before I actually got to the verb.
Or
No. But I'm not sure if... So...
I hesitate to suggest an answer from the mid-90s, but could you build a fucking huge catapult and put the dwarf you intend to pit?
Sadly not. Catapults can only... Sadly not, but minecarts are a possibility. Catapults in Dwarf Fortress can only be used for moving stone. But minecarts, on the other hand, there is on the wiki a recipe for load. So what you do is you load the cage containing the dwarf into a minecart. You then send the minecart down a track, a very deep, a very long descent. Well, I mean, I think it's about 6 or 7 Z levels. So that it gets up enough speed that when it collides, for instance, with a second minecart, which should preferably be a heavier one, the cage is ejected. You then arrange that the flying cage hits a wall, which causes the cage to eject its contents, and then you arrange that the route, that the path the dwarf departing from the cage takes lands them in the place you wanted them.
And then you do whatever it was the poem was about.
And then you send a
Mostly
squadron
scrape
of
the dwarf
clean-up
off the floor.
dwarves to retrieve
To retrieve.
assorted minecarts, wheelbarrows, cages, and
Yeah, to retrieve the empty cage and the empty minecart.
And the dwarf whose trajectory.
Well, no, the whole point is that you put the dwarf out of reach now.
this is the
Right.
dwarf corpse that you're putting in a pit before it reanimates,
Right.
Or, no, after it's reanimated is the difficult bit.
so that it doesn't continue to be reanimated anywhere near you anyway.
Right. Obviously, this
Um,
makes sense. Oh, wait. Another thing.
You have a zombie dwarf in your house, you want to get it as far away from you as possible and have it stay there. Ah, that does make sense.
Yes, but also no. I feel that there should probably be some kind of Geneva Convention preventing game designers from having Minecarts.
Oh, I see. You're not bothered about cruelty to zombie dwarfs. You're
No.
What about cruelty to minecarts?
I was going to say irresponsible use of minecarts, but
So yes, our Baroness, who has been locked up, or rather confined for some crime or other, is quite pleased with how nice the rope that's tying her up is, which I suppose is probably good. Is it one of her possessions at the moment? Doesn't look like it. No, it's probably. It's a building then. Slightly surprised that these aren't marked as actually being assigned to her. But yeah, they are reasonably high quality cave spider silk ropes. Anyway, right, so that's happy. We do have a slight problem of we're stacking up cages with zombie dwarves in them. On general principles, we should assign a new pig to that, shouldn't we? And I think we should build more cage traps. Because we've got lots of spare cages, and cage traps are really effective. So
workstation is where work stops.
let's make sure that a straight route from the entrance to the trade depot passes through traps. Let's make a few more. Oh no, we can't make any more. That was the dwarf we lost. We can't currently ask to build more mechanisms because our mechanics workshop is currently being used for strange mood, which is fine. So there's now a minecart down there, as there should be. Temporarily forbid it for safety's sake. Start that pump.
Don't have no indication of everything.
So people are setting up those 3 new cage traps that I hope will intercept some more creatures that need intercepting. The new pig has been installed. I think a future task. I'm using them as lures behind cage traps in order to encourage the undead to wander in and then get caught in cage traps. This does mean that there's a small quantity of zombie pigs on the surface. I think one at the moment.
Are there any vegetarians luring them with something else?
Don't think so, no.
Right. I need to get to bed. I will stick people on
Aha.
tomorrow.
Mysterious construction started. Goodness, it's going to be an exciting construction. It consists of 3 units of limestone, some lay pewter bars, some diorite blocks, some cave spider silk cloth, some pig leather, some rough honey yellow beryls, some pomegranate wood logs, and some gold bars. Right.
That is a large order beyond the silliness even of Trace of Generic.
Yes.
But you always wondered what the people in the villas did with those large orders, but this is definitely mysterious.
So is this a minecart full of magma? Excellent. So I can now go hauling route, magma to lead mine, assign vehicle, iron minecart. Given that it's in a mechanics workshop, I think it has to be something you can make in a mechanics workshop, which means I think we're going to get an artifact mechanism. A very, very fancy artifact mechanism. But I'm not sure. We seem to have a lot of people being reported missing. Are they recent arrivals? They're not very. We make everything of limestone in this fort. Limestone is pretty much our favourite material. Right, haul that minecart full of magma 2 spaces to the right. And now we have 4/7 magma, which is the minimum amount necessary to operate a magma fuelled smelter. So now we dismantle that track stop. Remove that thing, temporarily forbid that steel wheelbarrow so it doesn't accidentally get assigned to something else. And once the track stop has been dismantled, we can build a smelter and smelt everything because it doesn't cost us any fuel. Right, meanwhile, let's start working on our next magma fueled workshop. And in particular, thus I will build another. My plan is to build a second magma smelter that we just use to melt down all of the steel rubbish we've got, so we can make more minecarts. So, yeah. Oh yes, I had a plan to build a magma forge here. So let's build a track stop here, which will dump to the east. Build that out of whatever blocks happen to be nearest. And we will create a new furniture stockpile. No, that wasn't what I meant. A new furniture stockpile here, which will be as previously take from links only, set to only take minecarts made of iron or steel. Take from this stockpile, which is currently under magma. Unforbid that wheelbarrow. I shouldn't really have bothered forbidding it. And then allow one wheelbarrow. Switch the pumps over. Stop pumping. Unforbid this minecart, and that minecart will then get lugged away. We essentially have magma stockpiles. Yes, that's the plan. So, meanwhile, looks like that minecart is being hauled off, probably to its new stockpile, which is good. So there's still a track stop here. No, good. So we can now go build furnaces, magma smelter here out of orthoclase blocks. Right. So, meanwhile, let us start limestone mechanisms, plural. That's weird. Claims it as an heirloom in the name of family ancestor Kogan Roof Crux. That's nice. Wayward Sloths, the friendly clod. Encrusted limestone mechanism encrusted with rectangular limestone cabochons and oval honey yellow beryl cabochons, decorated with pomegranate wood and encircled with bands of cushioned limestone cabochons and gold. Object menaces with spikes of limestone and pig leather. On the item is an image of Wayward Sloth, the friendly clod. It has an image of itself on it. It's a recursive artifact. The limestone mechanisms inlay pewter. On the item is an image of Bim Axe Crafted, the dwarf, in diorite. On the item is an image of Wayward Sloth, the friendly clod, doubly recursive object. The limestone mechanisms in cave spider silk. So there, it is an embroidered mechanism.
What's it for? I mean,
It's a mechanism.
mechanism is a generic term.
You can use mechanisms for all sorts of stuff. You can use a mechanism to build a cage trap, or a lever, or to link things together, or a set of gears, or some rollers,
So
or
basically, there's only one kind of mechanism, and it's a sort of Swiss Army object.
yes,
Right.
it can do anything. Mechanisms are great.
Spikes.
Yes, and it menaces with spikes, of course.
It's like in Is It Last of Us, you go around and you find parts. And you use parts to build upgrades for things.
Right.
Or you hit him off or something.
Oh, someone managed to
Yeah,
kill our
for purposes of your
zombie pig. Lost where I wanted to build things. Right, so in addition to a magma forge, which I think is what I'm building here eventually, I also want to build up here a magma smelter for the purposes of melting down existing metal things. So that needs me... Oh, there's a ghost. So we were actually making a memorial to someone. So let's see. Oh, it's the correct person. Excellent. So it was a ghost we already knew about. We just hadn't got round to dealing with it. So someone will turn up and deal with that problem in a moment. Yes, dear ghost, you will be dealt with very shortly. I hope. Come along, people. I appreciate there are lots of people in the way, but meanwhile, we would like to make a suitable hole in the ground here, filling with more magma shortly. So let us dig that out initially. So that track stop has been constructed. Alright, here comes someone with what I hope is a magma safe minecart, which has now been assigned to furnish stockpile number 39. Next, all being well, someone will take that minecart, magma safe wheelbarrow away again and fill it with magma. There they go, or rather fill it with a minecart filled with magma. And indeed, off they go. Right, so now I want to dig out some of this and then wall it in so as to produce another... Right, that's dealt with that unhappy ghost. Right.
Good night, Nosetools.
Now we will build some walls down here to stop the water getting in. That worries me. Where did that blood come from? Oh right, I think it's just got wet down there, and as a result, the blood has washed off one of the visitors. Really, they should have, had a bath or something by now, but still. Yes. Right, and that's the other bit of that wall installed. I'm doing this slightly cautiously so that we don't accidentally destroy the ramp in the middle, which is kind of necessary for the dwarves to get out again. Rather, we don't break the ramp in the middle. Okay, no, that hasn't been dug out yet. Let's just wait for the last one to be dug out. It's only going to be a moment. Seb says, I forget the reason why you can't just put magma in a wheelbarrow. I think it's essentially that it turns out that if you flood a room with magma while it has a wheelbarrow in it... Actually, there are two reasons. I think if you flood a room with magma while it has a wheelbarrow in it, the wheelbarrow will not actually end up full of magma. And the other reason, I think, is that you can't really instruct dwarves to move wheelbarrows around. So minecarts are much easier things to, for instance, empty. So I think in general, I think wheelbarrows are probably just like not magma tight. So you try to fill them with magma, and the magma just falls through the holes in the bottom. They're kind of like shopping trolleys. Which means they're great for moving most objects, but you can't actually move liquids in them. Whereas minecarts are sealed, so you can move liquids in them.
Great.
So how are things going down here? Oops, you shouldn't be operating that pump anymore. Sorry. Alright, that route... Oh, that route still exists, right, yes. Assign no vehicle to it and delete the entire route. Right, that's why that minecart hadn't been moved downstairs yet. So we're now walling in this magma reservoir. Before it floods with water. So that will then be ready once we've filled the second one. Meanwhile, aha, we now have a functional magma smelter. Right, well, do we just smelt all the galena we've got? I think so. Go convert it all into something more useful. Because like it doesn't cost us anything other than the galena now. Right, I think we now have a minecart here. So we can now construct a new trivial hauling route. And assign it was the steel minecart, wasn't it? Let's check. Let's assign the steel minecart to that, which will get that put in there. Where are you going with those limestone blocks? Just noticed there's a dead person in the pit. Which is kind of unfortunate. We would have preferred it if there weren't, but... Right, we now have the first unit of magma there. Hauling... unassigned vehicle. Going to need a new track stop to unload into there. No, not like that. Presumably there is a job, yes, to store an item in the magma loading area. Good. I think the undead on the surface may have cleared off again. We have lots of bits of people, but those usually are like in our possession already. I think we can probably safely open the front door for a bit. The lower caverns are so full of undead though. Wow. Let's pull the lever. That one is now ready. Yes, we seem to have a necromancer kicking around. I'm not quite sure why. So I want to try a little experiment. I'm going to forbid that minecart because I don't want it moved again. Yes, there is one slight problem, which is I have to organise forbidding and unforbidding things in like the correct order. Let's at least unforbid all of the objects in the entrance way. That those can be moved out of the way. The enormous... What are you? What the hell is a bright pink end tilde? Oh right, that's a dwarf beast hunter necromancer. I have no idea why the miller's dead. Probably got killed by a zombie pig or something. I think they were one of the recent batch of arrivals and they were the one who was on the wrong side of the door when it closed. So what I want to see is, there was something on the wiki that suggested that forbidden items don't take up slots in stockpiles, and I want to see if that's true. I don't think necromancers are much good at at making undead things properly dead. They're much better at making dead things undead. Why does everyone cluster in one of the rooms of this temple? It's a 3-room temple. There is plenty of space for all of you. See, look, nice big temple. And yet you're all clustering in the southwest corner. This is unhelpful. I presume I haven't accidentally locked all the doors or something. It's clearly not that you have any objection to the fact that it's full of memorials, because that room's got memorials in as well. going, surely a grasshopper can't fight. No, people are throwing grasshoppers away. It's a live thing. Stop worrying about live things. They're not really a problem. Right, so we do not now have a job to fill that up. Right, that was what I wanted to check. Because some sources suggested that we might be able to load both of those minecarts into the loading area simultaneously, which we can't quite. But that's not a problem, because we can fairly rapidly alternate operating the two pumps to fill the one minecart and then the other. We should work out what is the item that they can't place in a tomb. Ah, right. Yes. There's a skeleton in the river and they keep wanting to pick it up. No, just leave the skeleton in the river. It's in the river. That's not a safe place for you to go. That should stop some of the cancels place item in tomb jobs messages. Now let us reclaim some of the objects near the main entrance to the fortress, including like yet more corpses. I'm continuing to deny bards. Right, someone operating the pump yet? No, but there's someone on their way. Who are you and what are you doing? Oh, you're a rather ill stray war jaguar. Right. That's that minecart filled. Now come upstairs and pump this side. Unforbid that minecart, and that should then. I'm going to leave you stuck on that pump for now, I think, because that holds you in a useful position for later. Oh dear, what's rotting in there? I think we should. I think actually that stockpile is of no use, and I should turn it off. We're probably going to need to fill that space with coffins fairly shortly anyway. We'll see though. There'll be loads more store place item in tomb and such like jobs. Oh, it's summer. I get to have a rest. I'll game auto saves. So yes, this is all working reasonably well. I mean, apart from the fact that the actual purpose for which I obtained the magma hasn't yet come to pass. But like, we've got a working magma smelter. We're halfway to a working magma forge on the upper level. Like in the same place as all of our other workshops. And then we'll have a second magma smelter for melting down steel things so that we can get some more minecarts so we can make the whole system a bit more efficient. Possibly we can then start playing silly buggers with minecarts in minecarts, but I'm not sure if that will work. What's that cage? That cage. It's a Gorlak cage containing a perfectly ordinary Gorlak, because we seem to be collecting Gorlaks in cages. We should work out whether we can tame Gorlaks, I suppose. So what's the all right, yes, she was convicted of disorderly conduct, apparently. She's also dead, so that's possibly not the person who is... There we are, that solved that. All crimes have been solved, they've been pinned on someone who's already dead. Right, now we can switch the pumps over again, I think. Oh, hang on. No, that's the full minecart. That's the empty minecart. Go and move my magma. So what other things did I want to build? I want a magma glass furnace and a magma kiln, I think. I think those both look basically the same in that they have a blocked square top centre. So I want to basically dig the same thing as I've dug for the magma smelter here. I need an actual room for the other one. I believe someone should be bringing a minecart full of magma up here any moment now. Well, when I say any moment now, I mean eventually. I think they haven't collected it yet. No, they've collected it. Good. It should now mean that that is now scheduled to be put into the collection area. Yes, good. Once it's been put in there, then we will take this pump operator and move them back down to the lower pump briefly and then back up to the upper pump. And then we'll release them. If, of course, we haven't managed to cycle all the minecarts around again. Oh yes, we were a bit short of mechanisms, weren't we? Let's make some more mechanisms. Yes, it's true. I do have a mechanism, a nice limestone mechanism covered in pictures of itself, but only one of those. Oops. The minecart has arrived, so now I can go haul, magma to forge, vehicle. Oh, I should check which minecart it is. I've long since lost track of which one we're currently working with. It's the iron minecart. Right, haul to the forge, the iron minecart. Meanwhile, that one has been put in position, so we can say stop that pump, start that pump. Right, stop that pump, start that pump. You can stay there for now. Right, and now we have 4/7 magma there, so we can deassign the vehicle from that hauling route and indeed remove the route. We can deconstruct the track stop. We can undesignate the minecart stockpile. We can then designate a new minecart stockpile over here. We'll take from there and we'll have a wheelbarrow. When I inevitably get the order of the pumps wrong, I think the most likely thing is that someone ends up... Well, actually, I think mostly the dwarves will not do anything very stupid. Like, they shouldn't... The major danger is that they'll attempt to add or to put a minecart in the loading area or remove one from the loading area while the loading area is full of magma. But I think even dwarves are not so foolish as to wade into obviously 7 deep magma, because like they can tell that they would not survive this experience. So I think it's fairly plausible that actually it won't be a complete mess. It will just not load us up, not cause anything to get loaded. I think. I mean, obviously, if we time it really badly, then there will actually be a dwarf in the loading area at the moment when when we turn on the wrong pump, and then really unhappy things will happen. But like, I'm slightly more careful than that. So I should now be able to build myself a new magma forge. Here. I seem to have got a bit confused about which of my pits I'm meant to be filling up next. Oh well. What comes of trying to do too many things at once? Someone has abandoned a sock, well, okay, a hood, in the in that pit. That's going to get very rapidly destroyed by the magma. Right, there goes someone with the wheelbarrow to collect the first batch of magma for that place. Meanwhile, do we actually have anyone who can operate a smelter? Because, like, no one seems to have smelted any of that ore yet. I don't seem to have anyone in a kind of greyish colour at all. Right. who wants to become a smelting person? You're a thresher. You're of no earthly use as a thresher. Furnace operating is what we want, but let's also give you blacksmithing so that you can get to building that forge. Actually, no, let's get someone else to be responsible for building the forge, because otherwise other planter, no, other thresher rather. Both furnace operating and metals and blacksmithing, and then one of you will probably pick up the construct magma forge job. Yes, good. Just check whether there are any random undead around that look like being a problem. Nah, doesn't look like it. Do have some magma crabs. Those shouldn't be a problem because they shouldn't be able to get up into the fortress. Right, so now we should have a fully operational magma forge on this level. Just test it by making something out of lead. Stop burying people in lead sarcophagi. Someone has the job of moving that into its correct home. How is our poor pump operator feeling? Not too bad yet. You can stay there pumping for a little while longer then. Right, and indeed our magma forge is clearly working properly. Someone is making a lead sarcophagus in it. Good. So now someone should be, here they come, bringing up the next batch of magma. So that square contains the steel minecart. So now we go hauling, new route. Why am I bothering to carefully name this after the thing that I think I'm going to build here? Oh, someone's picked up the hood from the bottom of the pit, so we won't get to find out whether it catches fire. Right. Right, there's someone smelting some galena. Excellent. Why is there a bar/block stockpile there? That's probably set up for, like, containing charcoal. Yes, which is of no use. We don't need charcoal for this anymore. Take your charcoal and bugger off. Right, that is now an empty minecart, which has accidentally been assigned for hauling, so let's temporarily turn that off, though we'll probably fix that in a moment anyway. Turn off the top pump, turn on the bottom pump. I think our pump operator may have decided he needs a drink. Yes. So there will now be a short delay while we find another pump operator turns up, or we... or that one finishes drinking. But to confirm the functionality of our magma forge, we now have a spare lead sarcophagus. Right, on which subject? We still have plenty of spare coffins. Excellent. Don't have a ludicrous number of objects being transported around, so I think now I'm going to carefully check the unit list, and if we don't have anything that looks dangerous out there, which I don't think we do. Dizzyat, in this context, a sarcophagus is that's going to be fun. Is a metal coffin or a metal burial receptacle. So I think stone and wood ones are called coffins, and metal ones are called sarcophagi. And there's probably something for glass ones as well. Just reclaiming every object I can find, so that the dwarves will pick them all up. I should have just done this as a cube, shouldn't I? Because you don't actually have to do things flat. Right, that will doubtless cause a slew of additional place item in stockpile jobs, and indeed place item in tomb jobs as objects get collected from the surface. Yes, I mean, I built the lead coffin because I know we need coffins in general, and we happen to have lots and lots of lead. Yes. Oh God, it's 20 past midnight. I'm slow again. We should stop doing this soon then. It's mostly been tedious magma admin. I mean, I kind of like the fact that I've got this sufficiently safe that we can have tedious magma admin. Rather than, like, I can't find anything here that's rotting. Well, that's a mangled, mutilated corpse, but it's not rotting. And I don't think we have a use for it, mind, so... I don't know where that miasma's coming from. And technically hooves can be carved. but I really need to reorganise my animal byproduct carving industry so that it works better. Yeah, I need to start digging that out before it floods. Particularly because if it floods properly before I fill it with magma, then we'll end up with obsidian in there instead, which will not be very helpful. Why did that minecart have to be carried back up here? You get lost somewhere. Sorry, wheelbarrow. What's going on down here? Right, where are we? Yes, we're short a pump operator, mostly. Perversely. Oh, we've got all of these poetical, like, actual citizens now, haven't we, whom we could assign to more useful tasks if necessary. Ghost, Tirist Shameblicot, please engrave a memorial to Dearest Thingamy as a high priority. Struck down by a zombie rhinoceros, what a surprise. I don't know about the child yet, but I suspect similar. Right, okay, yes, that cat skeleton is not currently a problem then. Okay, people have been bringing skeletons in and not storing them in the correct place. Okay, a camel skeleton may actually be a problem. Oh no, it's managed to get itself caged. See, this is why we have cage traps littering the fortress. Because in general it tends to mean that nothing can come back to life for very long before it ends up in a cage somewhere. What's that corpse doing there? Is it of any use? That can go straight in the pit. We might want somewhere to store... Oh, is that dwarven child, ghostly child again? Yes, we're dealing with you, don't worry. I mean, we should be. Do I need to appoint someone as a stone carver? We have an inadequacy of stone carvers. Happily, we have a bit of a surfeit of poets. Yeah, become a stonecrafter, my dear poet. Right, so that one humped camel skeleton in a cage can now be pitted. There we go. We've still got some unassigned tombs. It was just someone seeing something scary in the hole, that's fine. Apparently has some trained dwarfs kicking around. Ah, someone is operating the pump. Excellent. Please stop operating that one, start operating that one. We've got distracted again. Oh well. Alright, that's ended up suspended, which is why it didn't end up getting built. Too many cat teeth. Are you sure cats have this many teeth? Night, Gareth. Now, of course, everyone in the fortress is going to be dumping cat teeth, aren't they? Lots of people appear to be changing their clothes as well. Which is kind of reasonable. Clothes are probably wearing out a bit now. Yes, that's a load of dump item jobs for cat teeth. Right, anyway, I should stop soon. I'm just trying to work out when. I think I'd like to get this hole finished so that I don't accidentally let it flood. So yes, we are dropping things on the heads of... dropping cat teeth on the heads of things in the pit. I think all the cat teeth have been dealt with now. What's that cage there, though? R in it. It's just another large rat. I think we need to start training these large rats so that we can release them. Or possibly we just need somewhere we release untrained creatures outside and let the hunters try to get them. Like, we aren't actually aiming to catch things like large rats in these cage traps. The cage traps are for the zombies and such like. Okay, so if that corpse is there, it's because we're not going to bury it, so let's throw it away instead. Maybe I need to assign some more people to pump operating as well. There's an idle poet. Here comes an elf to operate the pump. Elven poets are obviously the right people to have operating magma pumps, and this will not cause any trouble. Right. Unforbid that minecart, that will get it hauled. Here, eventually, someone will decide that it's their job. There we go. Oh, right. That's entertaining. So I think what that means is that this mall, which was meant to be in our fortress, so admittedly it wasn't built here, well, maybe it was built here, is not currently here. Ooh. Which probably means that we could send someone to try to reclaim it, though I'm not really sure I want to be doing such advanced things just yet. Terribly alarming seeing N-tilders, but it's fine, they're just friendly necromancers. It will be fine. Like, it's not like things don't come back to life here randomly anyway. Right, well, I think we're now in a situation where there's not much going on. I mean, surely someone should attempt to move that minecart into its proper place. I think this magma pool is admittedly currently rather full of random clothes that someone's dumped there, but it's otherwise finished and ready to be filled with magma. Just like the magma filling situation is fairly slow. But we can... it's the iron one that's up here, I think. Let's just check. Yes. let's do that bit so that we're in a position to build what I think is going to be a glass furnace. Once someone comes along to actually load that up. Yeah, I think people are gradually collecting the clothes from that hole in the ground. There we are. No. Oh, what that button did. Set all this up so that it will just start going at an appropriate time. And once that track stop has been dismantled, actually no, I don't even need to wait for the dismantlement of the track stop, do I? Because it's outside of the footprint of the new building. Right, and that will build us a new glass furnace. Right, I think that is a reasonable point to stop. Yes, Diziot suggests that the necromancers are visiting because they think I like undead. Well, it's not like we don't have a lot of them. We're keeping them in a big box, but yes. We should perhaps try to do something to disavow the world of the idea that we like undead, like filling the entire world with magma, but I'm planning to do that later. Because the problem was that we actually need to be able to move quite a lot of magma quite fast in order to actually flood an area with magma, because the stuff evaporates if you have it too shallow. So yes, we need to get it deep reasonably quickly, which will involve hurling. Still got a surplus of pigs, which will involve like stocking up on minecarts full of magma at the top of the pit, and then going, right, we're going to put 10 minecarts full of magma down there. Excuse me, just need to forbid that minecart now that it's in the correct place to be loaded, because it's currently empty. Right. So yes, many good things are happening. Some silly things are happening. Still teeth all over the bloody place. Let's at least throw away the teeth that are inside or nearly inside the fortress. Because I think they'll be destroyed by the magma once we fill the pit with magma again. Right there, that will improve things. Right, so yes, we need more magma moving, but we're getting there. We've got 3 operating magma workshops now. Well, okay, one of them isn't built yet, but it's got the magmas in place. And 2 magma pits, magma reservoirs waiting to be filled, so that we can get 2 more workshops going, and then we can make more minecarts, so that we can make more, so that we can move more magma, so we can set more things on fire and have more fun. But that is for Sunday. Good night, and see you in a couple of days.